Welcome to Garden Sanity. I'm Laura, and this morning before we get rain and hail, yes, we may get hail, I wanted to give you a short update on the circle bed that I planted last year in May of 2023. It's now May of 2024. I was coming out here anyway to take some video because I don't know how well some of these flowers are going to survive the rain and the hail. And by the way, you see all this stringy stuff on the ground? No doubt you get this from your trees too, this stuff. Well, I've got a super satisfying video to watch. Me cleaning all of this up using my garden kneeler and my hands and a leaf blower. Yeah, there's just a snippet of it for you there, give you a little taste. And I'll link to that below in the description box for you. It's actually really satisfying to see because it's everywhere. And once it's done, it looks so nice and clean. Have to do this every spring. There's some weeds in the distance that need to be pulled. So just so you know, that's what all this mess is. I'll get there. So I planted this bed last year, and the centerpiece of the bed is this beautiful dogwood tree. This is a later blooming dogwood, and look at the bracts. A lot of people call them flowers, but the flowers, pardon the crinkling underneath, the flowers are actually bracts. Let me show you. Now it's just starting to bloom, but if you look at, for example, this one, the pink are actually called bracts. They're like leaves, and the flowers are actually considered to be these center little balls, but everybody calls them flowers. It's a flowering tree regardless. Let me take you from this angle, I'll show you. Now some dogwoods flower much earlier in the season, but this one is a later flowering, and I like that because we already have a crabapple that flowers early, and the earliest tree we have here in the backyard is the Magnolia Jane. I'll back up so you can see where those are. The Magnolia Jane is way over there against the fence, and then that's the Limelight Hydrangea tree. And then, if I slowly pan around, you've got the Prairie Fire crabapple. So this one is really nice to have later blooming. Now we just planted this last year, so I wasn't sure exactly when it was going to bloom, but look how beautiful the tree is. Now the leaves, as you can see, have a little bit of like a burgundy almost as they're developing, and then they'll turn green for the summer, and they have this beautiful deep pink coloring, which I like. And this was its first year, and you'll see we have wooden stakes here. Now one thing I am going to do, not going to do it before this bad storm that we're about to have, but one thing I can do is it's best to let the trees get established when you're staking them. Once you feel like about a year later, which this is what it is, you can remove the stakes. But what I'm going to do first is I will remove the supports, the little green tape, but I'm going to leave the stakes just in case I have to re-support it. But after about a year, your tree should be established enough that you might not need stakes. Now I know this depends upon the tree, but for the dogwoods, I would say this is pretty well established. The trunk seems bigger. Let me go down here so you can see. You know, that seems like a nice sized trunk. Now, what you'll also see in younger dogwoods is you will see that the leaves will curl, especially in the heat of the summer. And that's not anything to worry about. As the tree matures, they won't do that as much. But look at this beautiful color. Look at this. Isn't that stunning? I mean, the leaves are as beautiful as these beautiful colorful bracts. I don't know if any of you follow Over Divest Nurseries on YouTube. It's a really great YouTube channel. And that's where this tree came from. I got it at a local nursery, but it was brought there by Over Divest, which is a wholesale nursery. And they take awesome care of their plants, and they have a really good YouTube channel too, by the way. But I love the shape of this, and most of it survived. I'd say 95% of this tree survived. Let's see if I find any branches that may have to come off. Okay, I found one. This guy right here. He's the only guy that I see that I have to cut off. Isn't that amazing? Oh, and maybe this guy right in here. Otherwise, the whole tree survived. So this is what I'm going to take off eventually. But I'll leave the stakes just in case. We don't want to have to put those back in the ground if we don't need to. Now back in the front of the bed, these were all plants I planted last year. The first one I planted after the tree was the Reminiscent Rose. And this is a reminiscent pink rose. It is absolutely beautiful. You can see it's just getting to have some buds here. It's got extreme thorns, so be careful with that. You see those thorns down there? But this is going to have beautiful, very, very beautiful full roses on it in the summer. Down here is Armeria Daydream. It's a sea thrift. And you'll notice I didn't really clean out the brown leaves. They're going to come out. You know, you can pull them out if you want. You know, you see, you can pull them out. But you know what? It's okay. I'd rather just let them settle in. This is their, you know, they've completed 1 year in the ground. And I want them to just hang out and do their thing and get used to being here. But these look absolutely beautiful. And these are more drought tolerant, and because they're on the edge of the bed and the soaker sprinkler is in the middle of the bed, these won't get that wet, so they should do well here. They did last summer. On the way out, and I wish I would have filmed them earlier for you, are the pink carpet azaleas. These are the Perfecto Mundo series from Proven Winners. And the pink carpet azaleas, these are ground cover azaleas. And they have a new color this year in the carpet azaleas, and it is I believe it's a fuchsia color. But these are pink, and they're absolutely beautiful. I'm going to put a picture on real quick so you can see what they look like when they're at their peak. Isn't that pretty? But the color is a nice bright green in the springtime. It'll deepen a little bit as the season goes on. And these are still getting settled. These were very small shrubs I ordered. These were pint size or quart size, whichever one's bigger. I didn't get the gallon. I just got the tiny size. And here you got one flower here. That's looking really pretty. And then these are Legend of the Small Fothergillas. And I have 2 of them here. And again, just getting established. They had, you'll see, a couple of flowers. 1, 2, 3, 4. They had flowers at their peak. Wasn't really much to look at. But again, this is their first year, so it's going to take a while. So far, what I planted last year were the 2 Legend of the Small Fothergillas, the pink carpet azaleas, 2 over here. And then you see the sea thrifts, the rose, another pink carpet over here, and then this is also a Perfecto Mundo azalea, and this is a double white. And the flowers are gorgeous. Isn't that absolutely exquisite? Get this one down here. And we'll get these 2 for you, kind of nodding right now. So these are kind of past their peak a little bit. I mean, you can see what happened was, again, we had so much darn rain that, you know, you had several that just buds that kind of browned out. I mean, they got way too much rain. But they're young. Again, this was a gallon shrub, and this was sent to me by proven winners to trial. So they want to see how this does in my garden, and so far I'd give it an A+, because for its first year we had a brutally wet winter and spring as well. So this is doing great. It's going to spread about 4 feet, and it'll get about 3 feet high eventually. So it's still pretty low. And just see, give you an idea. It's probably just about a foot high right now. And so that's all I had planted last year, because I just really wanted them to settle in and give myself time to think what else I wanted in this bed. I added this bird cage that I got from Gardener Supply, just because this rose, as you can see, it likes to grow tall. So I thought that would help be decorative, but so far the main things, the main canes, the stems, are coming out the front. And I think that's because they're reaching for the sun a little bit more. This shrub will get about 4 feet tall. So now I'm starting to think about what else I want to plant in here. And so I did add, because this tree as it grows will provide more shade, I did add another Hosta Echo the Sun. Isn't this beautiful? This is from Walter's Gardens, and they supply plants to proven winners. They breed beautiful plants. And this is from their Shadowlands Hosta series. There are so many. If you look up Shadowlands Hosta, there are so many gorgeous varieties, it's not even funny. But this is a yellow hosta, and you can see more of the yellow color. Now let me show you something interesting. Now this is the long bed, and this is the Hosta Echo the Sun that Walter's Garden sent me last year. And as you can see, the new growth is almost like a pale mint green. You just maybe start to see some hints of the yellow. So I find that really interesting, that the new growth as it comes up is more of a mint green, and then it's going to turn yellow, which will be, again, beautiful next to this golden euonymus. I had to think what it was. Just look at the color, which desperately needs to be pruned. Look at that. It needs to be pruned. But anyway, that is the beautiful Hosta Echo the Sun, planted a year ago. And this is the one that I just bought this year. And I ordered this from Great Garden Plants. And you see this has more of the yellow. And that's more the color it will be. And these spread very wide. So this is going to be nice in this area. It's going to look really beautiful. So coming back around this way, again, those are the Legend of the Small, and these in front are the pink carpet Perfecto Mundo azaleas that spread almost like a ground cover. And then what I plan on putting here are Wizard of Oz Happily Ever After Veronica. I ordered 3 of them, and I'm going to stick them in this area. I think that'll be a really nice summer color to have, because what happens with the pink carpet is they will be green in the summer, and then in the fall, oh my goodness, they bloom all over again, which is beautiful. And then over in this area, sort of, haven't exactly decided, but I think it's going to be in front of the dogwood, kind of in between the dogwood and the rose. I'm going to get a perennial version of foxglove. Now, foxgloves are usually biennial, and that means that they'll bloom one year. They usually, when you plant them, the first year, if you start them from seed, for example, they will be green. The second year they'll bloom, and then that's about it for them. They bloom every other year is basically what it is. Sometimes they'll die off, and more often than not, they're a short-lived biennial, blooming every other year, but they drop seedlings, and that's how you can get flowers every year from your foxgloves. However, I found a perennial version called Arctic Fox, which blooms every single year. So I'm going to try it in this area. And then right here in this spot, I'll show you what I'm planting. So what do you think of this for a little punch of some yellow color? This is a Heliopsis, or false sunflower. And I really want to show you this. I got this also from Walter's Gardens this year. They just sent this to me. Just got it last week, actually. So it's a proven winner's plant. It's a brand new plant. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to find it this year at the garden centers, but next year definitely. It's called Touch of Blush. And why? Look at the leaves. Oh my goodness. First of all, you see the variegation. You see what looks like a lace edge, which that's my best way to describe it. It's beautiful. But the leaves have a touch of blush. Look at this. Isn't that stunning? So when I saw this, I thought this needs, a special place in the garden where I can really enjoy it and look at it. I love foliage on perennials. Flowers are all pretty to look at and everything, but if you don't have some beautiful foliage as well during the times it's not really flowering as much, well, then it's just kind of boring. But look at this. First of all, that's stunning. That is absolutely beautiful. And you see, I've got some shadows here. Let me move a little bit for you. You can see there's another bud right there that's starting. And just look how pretty that flower is. My goodness. Absolutely beautiful. And you see another bud along with the flower. So I think that is going to go right here. And again, you're going to have the azalea be green all summer, and then it does get blooms again in the fall. That's what's wonderful about the Perfecto Mundo azalea series. And then, of course, you'll have the pink in the fall as well. But then you'll get this beautiful plant. I wanted to say this guy, but I think it's a gal. So I think she is going to go right here. So that's what I'm thinking of doing to this bed. Just adding some perennial foxglove, some Veronica, and then this beautiful Heliopsis. I added the Hosta back there. And I think that's going to be it for this season, and then I'll see how those do. But I'm going to gradually fill this bed in. I want to allow enough room for the azalea to spread, the rose to fill in, as well as the legend of the small over here to fill in as well. Now remember, with perennials and with shrubs, as I've mentioned, there's the it's the sleep, creep, leap. Hard to get it right, but all you have to remember is the first year you're not going to see as much growth. The second year you're going to see much more growth. The third year they're going to really come into their own, and that's an average. Some plants will mature more quickly, some more slowly. I'm looking forward for when this azalea gets taller. So that's the update. I wanted to make sure that you could see this beautiful azalea before the rain may knock off some of the flowers. We'll see. And then this will just keep getting filled. More and more pink, which I am very excited about. It's an absolutely beautiful tree. So if you haven't seen how we made this bed, laying the pavers down and installing a soaker type sprinkler, you can watch this video on the screen next. And then I'm also going to put a recent video I just did about ordering plants online, since that's what I do. And I think you'll enjoy it. It's just do's and don'ts and my tips and tricks for getting the most out of online plant shopping. And until next time, happy gardening.